demonstrate how to create a presentation document, the presentation document that we're using for assignment 2. We want to go into Photoshop and go to File, New. This is where we can create a new document and specify the size and label it. I'm going to call this presentation. The width is set to 12 inches. You could change it to pixels, but we want it to be inches by 5 inches. I have the resolution set to 200 pixels per inch. I mentioned in class that it could be 150. You could choose either, it's fine. If you feel that 150 is too small, then try 200. I open this up and it's white, but I want to make it gray. So I double click the background layer to unlock it and then run an adjustment on it to change it. So I'm just going to darken it because it's already white, it's already desaturated, but if it was colorized I could just desaturate it. And I'm going to save it just to make sure that it saves. Okay, so now if I make a mistake I don't have to start all over again. Okay, so I'm going to open up each one of these and bring them into this document. That's the next step. So open with Photoshop. And with the Move tool, I just click in this document and drag it over here and let go. Now this image is too large for my document, but I can transform it. Hold down Shift and grab the corner and drag it in. Holding down Shift scales it in proportion. And press Return or click the check mark to complete that. I'll open up the next one. And if I have 2 layers, I want to make sure to link them. Although in this case, the bottom layer is just the original document, so I don't really need to do that. But to link layers, you just highlight both layers and click this button here. And now when I drag, they'll both drag over together. Press F on my keyboard to change the screen mode. Go to Edit, Transform, Scale. Click the corner, hold Shift, and drag it into position. I'm trying to close it and it's asking me to save it because I've changed the document. I've linked these. So I'm just going to update it and say yes. Open the next document in Photoshop. Click and drag. And edit, transform, scale. It's the same thing each time. And open up the next document. This one has multiple layers and I need both layers, so I do need to link these. Highlight both layers, holding Command and clicking each layer. Press the link button, and with the Move tool, just click and drag this over here. Now let's back that up. If your document or if your windows are tabbed together like this, and you just see tabs, if they're not side by side, you can just grab the tab and pull it down like this, and then click and drag over. That's one way to do this. Another way to do this would be, that same thing would be, if they're together like this, you can click inside one window, hover over the other tab, and when it changes images, bring it down into that window and let go. The shortcut for transforming is Command T. Hold Command on your keyboard and then press T at the same time. and it gives you a free transform, which allows you to scale and rotate and do a bunch of other things, but we're only scaling at this point. So this one is already linked. It's important to press F on your keyboard to change your screen viewing mode, because if you don't, then you might not see the transform controls. I'll show you what that means on this one here. So I'll open this with Photoshop, drag it over here, and if I go to Edit Transform, Scale, I don't see the controls. I would have to open this document up to see this stuff. It's another way to do it, but it takes a little bit more time. That's why I always work in that screen mode by pressing F. Looks like these are barely going to fit, so I'm going to squeeze these over. You could make them, I should have made them smaller, but we'll make it work. Now this one also has several layers, and I have this layer right here, which is an adjustment layer. It's going to be a problem because when I drag this over, it's going to affect all of these images as well. And you can see right now, let's press F on this image, that they are all dark, but as soon as I drag this over, they'll turn light. See that? So let's close that document. And press F so we can see the whole document here and see what I'm talking about. I'm going to scale this down first before we deal with it. Again, I just did a transform. Now, if we go to this layer here and click on it, this is my adjustment layer. If I hide this, you'll see that those images go back to normal. An adjustment layer affects every layer below it, and it affects the entire document window. Since I didn't use a selection, it's going to affect everything in the document that's below it, including all this stuff here. So what I want to do is clip this layer to the bottom layer. And there's two ways to do that. One way is to just hold Option and click in between the two layers. And you'll see that little symbol appears, and it's click down. It shifts over to the right, and you see that little bent arrow right there, and then it goes back to normal. I'll do that one more time. So I hold Option, go in between the layers, hover in between the layers, and then you see that little symbol. It's a square with a bent arrow. You just click, and it clips it to the bottom layer. So it's only affecting the layer below it now. Another way to do that is in the Property panel. Go to Window, Properties, to see the properties of the adjustment layer. And then at the bottom, you see this little button. It's that same symbol. If I click that, then it will only affect the layer below it. So it's two ways to do that. So if you run into that problem, don't panic. You can either try to resolve it or just leave it if you can't figure it out. We'll deal with it when you come back into class. So that one's done. I have one more to do now, one more set. Looks like these are barely going to fit in this document. Bring this over here. The reason that happened is because it entered on a layer below. So I want to drag that up to the top. Because I was working on that adjustment layer, it placed that new document image in between those layers. It's an easy thing to fix. So we're gonna have to squeeze these in. I should have made these smaller, but it's okay. For the demo, it'll work. If I was doing this for a grade, I'd probably make them smaller. Giving more room in between them makes them look a little bit better. And let's bring in the last document. Again, I want to link these layers. I have this one highlighted. I'm going to hold Shift and click this last one, click the link button, and then just drag all these in. Press F and edit, transform, scale. I realize I put these out of order, so let's put this one down here and this one over here. Now, there's two things I can do here. I can either make each one of these smaller, or if I want more room, I could just go to that bottom layer, or on any layer, and go to the crop tool and crop the whole thing. And then hold Shift and Option to pull it out from the center at the same time, and just open this up a little bit more. Or if I don't want to do that, I don't have to hold Shift. I could just drag one corner out and then another corner out, open it up slightly, and then press the check mark, and it crops it and it opens it up. It gives me more room. And then I'm going to hide all these layers so I can see what's happening with this background layer. And go to my Move tool, and I'm just going to move this layer, the pixels on this layer, down, and then transform them. So edit, transform, scale, and just drag that up. I'm dragging it beyond the border just to make sure it doesn't leave a little sliver that's not filled, and press the check mark. Now I can turn all of those layers back on, have a little bit more room, and I can spread these out a little bit more. Didn't make that much of a difference, but good to know that you can do that. Okay, so now that I'm done, right now this is a Photoshop file. I want to save it. Make sure I save it. I should have probably saved it earlier just in case something happened. Replace that one. So now it's saved as a PSD. I have my Photoshop file right here, but you only need to turn in a JPEG, so I want to save it again as a JPEG. Okay. And close this. Now when I open up my JPEG in Photoshop, you can see that it's finished. It's all been flattened into one layer, and I'm done.